Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Hello, I Am Listening, your favorite podcast. Maybe, hopefully. I don't know. I'm sorry that we didn't release an episode last week. Yep. But I had a good excuse. I was not here the whole weekend.
And we didn't prepare ahead of time. It was like Thursday. And we're like, we should do a podcast for tomorrow. Yeah. And then you had to work. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that happened. So but we are back now. And obviously we have to address the whole baby situation anyways in terms of how we are going to, if we're going to release things. So
we've talked about that a little bit, but
yeah, but in the coming month things will be more spaced out, or at least more spontaneous, where if we have time we just record, and if we don't then we can't release, or I do an episode alone, because that's actually what the people want to hear. It's like, I wish Danielle would just stop talking and just let him talk. Said nobody ever. Okay, what is today's let's get into episode. I already forgot how to do that. And we're back. So, what is today's episode about? You chose the topic.
I did. I thought it would be nice to talk about, I feel like we've talked a little bit about gratitude before on the podcast, but just to kind of dive more into it, like what is gratitude? How do you practice gratitude? What are the benefits of gratitude?
Gratitude.
Delicious.
Delicious gratitude made by a rat.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I just thought it's a nice way to like start the new year with intentions of gratitude.
In the paper I researched as the definition of I'm kidding. In the paper you researched, there's the definition, and the definition of gratitude is the quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. I like that.
Yep.
Because that actually is gratitude.
It is the definition of gratitude. And I found a quote that I liked from some guy named Mike.
Oh, Mike. I know him. He's
Mike
cool.
D. You know Mike D?
Mike Dick? No, that's a different Dick.
It's a different Dick?
It's a different Mike D. I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But he says, gratitude, this is what it means for him, and I just liked it. Gratitude means that despite the things in my life that I wish were better, I am still able to recognize and deeply appreciate the things in my life that I absolutely cannot and should not take for granted, and I see the value in them. It is about looking at my life through an objective lens and recognizing the enormous privilege I have, recognizing the opportunity I have in front of me, and seizing the day. If I let any number of bad, quote, bad things bog me down, then I start to lose sight of the gifts I've been given or fail to see I even have them. So I do everything I can to make sure I am always trying my best to recognize what a gift I've been given and make sure I'm on track to live up to the potential I have and appreciate the love. I'm so out of breath just from talking. And appreciate and love the people in my life who love and support me and be better not just for myself, but for those I interact with, and be of value in service to others as best as possible. Holy moly, I cannot read anymore.
That's a long ass sentence. But just to sum it up, he basically just says that he tries to be more aware of the things he has, more aware of the things that he has in terms of things that maybe are not like given to anybody in the world, and just be more thankful of those things, and then also the people who surround him who are who also bring value to his life.
Yep.
More or less. Just to paraphrase.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm very sorry to anyone listening for all of the heavy breathing you might be hearing.
Yeah.
Because apparently talking is also very
I mean, I told you to stop smoking while pregnant, but you didn't listen to me. Okay, so practicing gratitude or being grateful for things. I think I don't know if I'm right with that, but I think yoga has a lot to do with that as well.
Mm-hmm. Is it one of the 8 limbs?
I think it's yoga? One of the 8 things, whatever it's called.
8 limbs.
8 limbs. Like a spider.
Sure.
Is yoga a spider?
Yes. It was
Maybe
invented by
spiders, and it's
an
like an
Indian spider.
It's like a way of making us to spiders, like all the spiders in the corners watching us while we make yoga. Like, yes.
I mean, they're very flexible, so
yeah,
they can move and
conspiracy right
bend
there.
in all different ways.
If we never record a podcast ever again, you know who got to us. Spiders. No, but I like when you do like a yoga flow, or like watch a yoga thing on YouTube, a lot of the times
just watch it or actually do it.
You don't have to do it. It's relaxing. You can see I watched yoga today. Then a lot of the times gratitude has some role in some sort of way in that.
A lot of times in yoga it's about being grateful for being in the present, so it's very like it's not, I mean, there are definitely, I've taken yoga classes where they talk about being grateful, like think about things you're grateful for, or being grateful for, I don't know, life in general, breath especially.
I mean, it's about grounding, and I think,
but it's very much about like being in the moment and being grateful for being in this present moment with yourself.
Yeah.
But let's maybe go into some of the benefits of gratitude, because there are actually scientific benefits of people who practice gratitude on a regular basis.
I mean, it makes sense, Do
you want to start?
Sure. I mean, I can say that from myself or from my experience with it, like getting up in the morning and just starting the day with like a positive thought or just a positive demeanor, and then smiling, for example, at yourself in the mirror, helps you to not only raise your or what is the serotonin levels, but makes you overall be in a better mood. And that goes as far along as, like, if you're being grateful for what you have, for what you do, for what you can do, for the body you have been giving, then that can help with your mental state. Yeah.
I mean, going along with that, psychological health. So it improves your psychological health. Gratitude reduces a multitude of toxic emotions, from envy and resentment to frustration and regret. So all of those, I mean, that's what they said, toxic emotions, they get reduced just from practicing gratitude on a regular basis, which makes sense.
Yeah, and that goes along with physical health as well. Yeah, so if you're more grateful, or at least, there are studies, statistics that state that if you're a more grateful person, you are more prone to live a healthier life. You are more prone to, look after your body, exercise more, and stuff like that. So I think that...
Which leads to things like, like if you don't have as many aches and pains.
Yeah, it makes sense, because if you're more grateful, I think it basically gratefulness can turn into happiness in the long term. And it kind of makes sense, because if you're grateful for the things you have, and even though, for some people it's just, hey, I have food to eat, I have a small apartment that keeps me warm during the winter time, whatever it is, it can be small things. I think in the long run, I mean, it kind of makes sense if you think about it. It makes you more happier, and then that benefits your health in many way or forms.
It can also improve your sleep. I don't know that it's proven to improve your sleep, just the act of being more grateful. But they have done studies where people who would write in like a gratitude journal or something before they go to sleep. So like the last 15 minutes or so before you go to bed, you're just writing in a gratitude journal. I think it could also go along with things like reading, or, just journaling in general, I think is reflecting, the act of kind of just reflecting. And
a lot of, I mean, if you just think about it, a lot of reasons why people can't sleep is stress related. which then goes into mental health stuff. And for example, journaling or doing like a gratitude journal, stuff like that is or can be part of therapy for people who have mental health problems. And I know from a fact that anxiety, for example, anxiety sufferers it can be part of a CBT treatment where people try to focus their mind and their thoughts more on the positive side of things. Yeah. So it makes sense. It enhances empathy and reduces aggression. That also makes sense. I mean, you don't even have to think about it. If you know someone who is grateful for the things he has, who doesn't, has unrealistic or potentially harmful intentions, people like that seem to be more empathetic. And obviously then that goes along with being less aggressive, especially men, I think.
It also can boost your immune system function. I found that fascinating.
I mean, that goes along with the health though, right?
Sure. Okay. But specifically, I read something that said feelings of gratitude and appreciation have been shown to result in a significant increase in levels of immunoglobulin A, which serves as the body's first line of defense against viruses. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of other stuff like reduce stress. We already basically went into that. That goes along with being a more healthy person. Symptoms of depression and anxiety decrease, and that again, that's something I can say for a fact that it helped me a lot. Just writing down the positive things that happened for me today, or trying to focus the negative, like trying to reverse the negative thoughts.
You can hear more about that on one of our earlier episodes.
Yeah, the thing
anxiety, because we talked about, or at least I at some point talked about keeping the anxiety journal and turning your positive or your negative thoughts into positive ones in one sentence, and it was super helpful.
I actually want to do another anxiety episode at some point, because my video on health anxiety on YouTube got like another bump. And it's funny, once in a while, I would say twice or 3 times a month, people just randomly text me or write me on there and, just talk about their experience and how they suffer from anxiety. And it's, I don't know, it's still, I don't know. It just shows me that there are a lot of people out there who or just feel alone, and that's why I feel like we should just maybe do another episode on that stuff, because I think it's important to just, even though we did 2, I think already, but I think people want to hear that stuff more.
Yep.
And I think already now, I mean, I have, again, another take on the whole thing. I don't know how many years later. Yeah.
Just some other benefits. Improved focus is one. So, if you think about it, which also I think it all kind of makes sense. So if you're doing a task that's maybe more difficult or frustrating or overwhelming, and you try to make it into a more of a positive experience, your focus is going to be better. It's going to, you'll see challenges as like an opportunity instead of something that's super overwhelming.
Which then can turn into productivity. If you're not getting frustrated by certain tasks, you might be more productive in getting them done and getting even more done, maybe. Yeah.
There are some challenges, though.
Oh, really? Gratitude. Tell me about
it. Something that I read, it was hard because I was trying to find some, what are the challenges of gratitude, because it is not easy to be grateful. In every instance, but I found some things saying that the biggest obstacles of gratitude are envy, greed, pride, and narcissism.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, those are very counterparts.
Yeah, and so for example, envy and jealousy are fed by comparison. So if you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, it's kind of hard to then show gratitude in your situation.
Obviously,
because it's taking over that side of your brain.
Yeah.
And your perception is off.
Yeah.
Envy feeds greed, which is So the temptation, that's the article I read said the temptation to hoard as a means of overcompensating for our perceived lack. So
I mean, sure, people who just compulsively buy stuff to feel happy for a short amount of time, for example. If you practice gratitude, if you practice that, I feel like you might be able to overcome certain compulsive buys from compulsive shopping trips or whatever, you know. Yeah.
In terms of pride, I mean, pride can be a good thing, but there's also an unhealthy side of pride. And what I was reading says the unhealthy form of pride contains an overpowering need for self-importance and vanity that holds oneself above all else.
Narcissism goes
so the law, any other person, faith, whatever. Pride in turn feeds the state of narcissism, the self-absorption of unsolved ambition and repressed anger that breeds a sense of entitlement and specialness.
Yeah. I mean,
so they're kind of like things that are feeding what they call ingratitude.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
And what they say is, and what I've read is that obviously these things are all things that people experience. I mean, it's not like you can't really live a life without any of those things ever surfacing. But the important thing is to acknowledge that they exist and then to try to turn them around. So it's not necessarily about ignoring those things, but it's more about acknowledging when those things come up so that you can in turn turn it around into making a sense of gratitude instead of falling into like the traps of what they can bring.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. In terms of, we did an episode on comparing a couple of weeks ago. I don't even remember. I think in fall at some point. And that definitely is a very toxic thing to do to yourself, and that definitely can lead into especially those things. Yeah, of course. And if you feel like, oh, you're not enough, or if you have feelings like you need that to be successful or to be better or to whatever, that's all stuff that technically goes along or goes against being grateful. Yeah. And I think in these days with, being on social media and just watching stuff with ads and stuff, it's super hard to sometimes just remind yourself that all the shit that somebody wants to sell you most likely don't need. Sure, it's nice to have certain things, and sure, it feels good to have certain things, but in the long run, those things don't add anything to your life. And most of the time, again, you don't need those things to be happy or to, it's not a necessity. That's what I'm saying.
Why don't you start and
practicing gratitude?
Like how to practice gratitude? Like what are things people can do? Because I think that's also like, where do you start? How do you practice or like put that into your daily life?
I mean, there are a lot of different things, and I think they're all kind of similar in a way. But I think just, for example, being aware once a day, or you can set an alarm or whatever. Just for a few minutes, just reflect and be aware of where you are, what you have. Because I think that not only in whatever situation you may be, if you have a lot of money, if you don't have a lot of money, if you are rich, if you're poor, if you live in a poor country, if you, whatever, wherever you are, I think you can always be grateful for something, at least in most parts. I hope so, at least. And I think just having one moment during the day, and everybody can have this moment, this mindful moment where they're like...
And I think it helps for me, for example, it always helped to like write things down. Sure. When I was we talked about this journal, in the anxiety thing too, either a journal or I don't know if you remember, we would have like a piece of paper taped to our cabinet. Do you remember we had like a cabinet and we had a piece of paper on it and we had to write down 3 positive things from the day. So it wasn't necessarily things we were grateful for. Like it wasn't specifically that, but just like 3 good things that happened today. And I think you can do the same with gratitude. Like just write down every day 3 things that you're grateful for.
Yeah, sure.
And they don't have to be super profound, you know. It could just be, I'm glad that the sun is shining. I'm glad that, you know, or I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. And also, I mean, that goes along with being grateful for or towards loved ones. Just telling them that you know, are grateful for them, that you love them, that or just a simple thank you can show that you are grateful for them, whatever.
Which not only does good things for you, but does good things for them too.
Yeah.
There are gratitude meditations, which I'm sure you can find all over the place online. There are apps for it. There's probably YouTube videos where it just helps you with mindfulness and kind of being in the moment. And that also goes along with like walks. Yeah. There are some really cool apps that have specific meditations for when you're out on a walk, where you're listening to this meditation and you're walking and it's like guiding you, like what things do you hear right now? What are you know, it's very mindful walking and it's really, really nice.
Yeah. What I also like is giving back or just volunteering or just helping someone, even if it's just a small gesture or if it's volunteering in like at the soup kitchen or at the shelter or, you know, something small that not necessarily, you know, changes the world, but maybe helps to bring a smile to a person. And because it also, first of all, it shows that not everybody has it like you do, or there are people out there who struggle even more. And second time, it just feels great without, you know, buying or you know, doing something that is not it's not productive or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's also nice to reflect on the challenges that you've faced, whether recent or in the past. Yeah. It doesn't matter how long ago it was that this challenge happened, but I think it's important to reflect on that because then you can be grateful for where you are now. You can be grateful for, hey, I came through this. And I think that gives you a really positive outlook for other challenging situations when you're having maybe a hard time, and then you can say, hey, I've gotten through worse things or similar things, which means I can do it again. And to be able to show gratitude towards that also, I think, just kind of builds up your self-esteem a little bit.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, the thing is, they all go hand in hand, and I think you can show gratitude and be grateful in almost every situation, wherever you are. And it doesn't take a lot. And I think it's something that people should, you know, incorporate in their lives more. Because again, you are prone to be more empathetic and spread kindness in a different way. And I think that's something the world in general needs right now. That sounds so profound. You can quote me on that.
Oh boy. So I thought to end the episode, I have 3 questions.
I'm not going to answer any questions about my lawyer.
What are you grateful for today? Specifically today.
Today. That it's a nice day. A nice sunny day.
That was going to be my answer.
You have to choose a different answer now.
And I don't.
Yeah, you do. Otherwise, you copy my answer.
I mean, it was my answer.
Yeah, you can say that now.
Today, what am I grateful for today besides that it's a beautiful sunny day? I am grateful for... Oh, it's actually hard when you have to think specifically for one day. I am grateful that we had some nice, nourishing, good food for lunch. We made some good food. That's true. And yeah, I mean, my thing was going to be the nice sunny day because it brings such a nice, beautiful vibe to the day.
Okay. What are you grateful for in general?
In general. Grateful for being pregnant. Grateful that it's almost over. What are you grateful for in general?
I'm grateful for...
And of course, like family and
the
friends. And
situation we are in right now. That we have a safe space, a place where we live, and that we were able to accomplish that in a relative short time with a lot of help. I'm very grateful for that. Because, yeah.
What things could you do that maybe you don't do, or do you do already to practice being grateful?
Buy more shit. No. Buy less shit. I mean, we don't buy much shit, but no. I don't know. I mean, I try to be very mindful of things that we have and that I have and that I should be grateful for. So I'm already doing that. Maybe writing things down more specific. I think that could help me a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, writing has always been something that's been like kind of a healing thing for me. So I feel like that would also be helpful in practicing gratitude. Gratitude. Practicing it on a daily basis. I think that's something I need to do more. I think I'm a very grateful person. Like I like to think that I'm grateful for a lot of things and I try to acknowledge those things. But especially to you, I like to try to tell you that I'm grateful for you. But just in general, I think I could, like writing things down every day would be a nice way to practice it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you, listener, for taking your time and listening until now. We could not, first of all, we would not probably continue if nobody would listening. Like if really nobody would listen, we would probably stop.
I don't think so.
Yeah, if nobody would listen, I would stop probably. But the fact that we have numbers and we have listeners to keep coming back and showing up, that means a lot to us. And so, yeah, we spare you today with the question to subscribe or to share or to help us out. But we are going to do a shout out on our Patreon for Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
We're grateful for you.
Yes, we are. Thank you. And until next time.
Watch out for deer.